All right, so today we're diving into something a little different, the world of Viagra.
Yeah,
You gave us a pretty interesting stack of research on this little blue pill.
it is fascinating.
It's not exactly, your typical dinner table conversation.
All right.
But trust me, there's a lot more to this story than meets the eye.
Oh, absolutely.
Hmm.
What's so interesting about this is how this pill went from a potential heart medication to a cultural phenomenon. We're talking history, science, marketing.
Mm-hmm.
We even have some stories about hamsters and jet lag.
Hamsters.
Uh-huh.
Okay, you're going to have to elaborate on that one later. But it looks like you've given us everything from historical accounts of impotence treatments to like scientific papers breaking down how Viagra works. So where do we even begin with a topic like this?
Well, believe it or not, the quest for solutions to erectile dysfunction goes back thousands of years.
Really?
Oh, yeah. We're talking ancient remedies and some pretty creative solutions.
Like what?
Did you know some cultures believed in wearing talismans made from rooster genitalia?
Wait, seriously? Rooster genitalia? You've got to be kidding me.
I'm not making this up.
Yeah.
And it gets even more interesting. We're talking roasted wolf penis as a supposed cure for impotence.
Okay, that's a new one. I guess you could say people were really motivated to find a solution.
Yeah.
But were these just like quirky beliefs, or did people actually take impotence seriously back then?
Oh, they absolutely took it seriously. In 15th and 16th century France, men could be put on trial for impotence, and it was even grounds for divorce.
Wow. So it wasn't just a personal problem, it was a social and legal one too.
Absolutely.
That puts a whole new spin on things. But I'm guessing those rooster talismans weren't exactly a legal defense, right? So what else did people try throughout?
Well, as you can imagine, the search for a solution led to a whole range of treatments.
Okay.
We're talking injections, electricity implants, vacuum pumps. Some of these treatments were pretty invasive, and let's be honest, not very user-friendly.
Yeah, I read about this Dr. Giles Brinley, who demonstrated a treatment involving papaverine at a urology conference. And from what I gathered, it was a pretty unforgettable presentation, put it mild.
Dr. Brinley's demonstration was definitely memorable. He basically showed the effects of papaverine, a drug that can cause erections, in a rather dramatic fashion.
I can only imagine the reaction from the audience. But this brings us to something you mentioned earlier. Viagra wasn't always intended for erectile dysfunction, right? It was initially developed as a heart medication. How did that even happen?
It's actually a pretty fascinating story. Researchers were testing sildenafil, which was then known as UK 92480, for angina and high blood pressure. But during those trials, they noticed something interesting. The drug wasn't very effective for heart conditions, but it was having some unexpected side effects.
So let me guess, the side effects weren't exactly something people were complaining.
You got it. There were reports of some, shall we say, positive outcomes that had nothing to do with heart health. And during a trial with miners in South Wales, things took an even more interesting turn. The miners refused to return their medication.
Now, I'm really curious. Why wouldn't they return the medication if it wasn't working for its intended purpose? There has to be more to the story.
Well, let's just say the miners discovered that sildenafil was much more effective at treating something other than their heart conditions, and the researchers took notice. It was a classic case of a scientific breakthrough happening in the most unexpected way.
Talk about stumbling upon a gold mine, right? But how does it actually work? Is it some kind of magic pill?
While it might seem like magic, there's a scientific explanation behind it. Sildenafil is what's called a PDE5 inhibitor. Think of it like a traffic light system for blood flow in the penis.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Explain this traffic light system to me.
So when a man is sexually aroused, nitric oxide is released, and that's like flipping the switch to green. This nitric oxide increases levels of cGMP, which is like the green light that tells the smooth muscles in the penis to relax, allowing more blood to flow in and creating an erection.
So if cGMP is the green light, what role does PDE5 play in all of this?
PDE5 is the enzyme that acts like a red light, breaking down cGMP and essentially putting an end to the process. But sildenafil steps in and blocks PDE5, allowing cGMP to keep that green light shining and keep the blood flow.
So sildenafil is like removing the roadblock to blood flow?
Exactly.
Okay, it all makes sense now, but there's a catch, right? It doesn't work on its own.
That's right. Sildenafil only works if there's already sexual stimulation.
Okay.
It's not about popping a pill and expecting miracles.
Right.
There needs to be some, shall we say, natural motivation involved.
So no spontaneous erections while grocery shopping. Good to know. But from what I've read, Pfizer's success with Viagra wasn't just about the science. They completely changed how people talked about erectile dysfunction.
They were marketing geniuses. They realized that the stigma surrounding impotence was a huge barrier for men seeking treatment. So they went with a bold approach. They dropped the term impotence impotence altogether and started using erectile dysfunction, making it sound more like a medical condition and less like a personal failing.
That's a really interesting point. By reframing the conversation, they made it easier for people to open up about it. And then they went and got Bob Dole, a war hero and former presidential candidate, be their spokesperson. Talk about a power move.
It was brilliant, Bob Dole talking openly about erectile dysfunction. It normalized the conversation and gave other men the courage to seek help.
It makes you wonder how many men were silently struggling before Viagra came along and changed everything. But every drug has its downsides, right? What were some of the unexpected or less desirable effects of Viagra?
Well, there's priapism, which is basically an erection lasting for more than 4 hours. Definitely not something you want to experience.
Okay, that sounds pretty scary. What else?
And then there's synopsia, which is a temporary side effect where everything appears to have a blue tinge.
Wait, so you could actually be seeing the world through blue-colored glasses?
That's right. It's because sildenafil can affect a different type of phosphodiesterase found in the eye.
Wow, that's wild. But you're saying these side effects are pretty rare, right?
Yes, they are. For most men, Viagra is safe and effective when taken as directed.
So, all in all, a pretty revolutionary drug with a backstory that's full of surprises. But I'm still thinking about something you mentioned earlier, Viagra and hamsters. Did I hear that right?
You did. And this is where things get really interesting.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me everything about these Viagra-taking hamsters.
Well, researchers were studying the effects of sildenafil on jet lag in hamsters, and what they found was pretty remarkable. It turns out that sildenafil can actually help hamsters adjust to new time zones much faster.
Wait, so Viagra cures jet lag in hamsters. How is that even possible?
It seems that sildenafil affects the body's circadian rhythms, which control our sleep-wake cycle, and by adjusting those rhythms, it helps the hamsters adapt to the new time zone.
That's fascinating. But you said something about a hilarious side effect. You can't leave me hanging.
Well, when they increased the dose of sildenafil, the hamsters recovered from jet lag even faster, but they also started experiencing some noticeable physical changes, let's say.
Okay, you're killing me. What kind of physical changes are we talking about here?
Let's just say those hamsters were more than ready for takeoff.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. So you're telling me that Viagra-fueled hamsters might hold the key to curing jet lag? Who knew?
It's definitely a possibility. And it just goes to show that a single molecule like sildenafil can have applications far beyond what anyone could have imagined. Who knows what other hidden possibilities are out there waiting to be discovered?
That's a pretty incredible thought.
Yeah.
But before we get lost in a world of jet lag hamsters, let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about the science and the marketing, but there's another side to this, the darker side of Viagra. We're talking counterfeit pill and the risks people were willing to take.
That's right. When Viagra first hit the market, it was incredibly expensive, like $10 to $15 a pill.
Wow, that's a hefty price tag. I can see why people might have been tempted to look for cheaper alternatives.
Exactly. And the high price, combined with the lingering stigma around erectile dysfunction, created a perfect storm for counterfeiters. Some people were willing to risk their health just to avoid that awkward conversation with their doctor.
So they turned to the internet hoping for a quick fix. But what were these counterfeit pills actually made of?
It's scary to think about. Some of them contain things like brick dust plaster of Paris, even arsenic.
Arsenic, seriously. That's incredibly dangerous. People were putting their lives at risk to save a few bucks. It makes you realize how desperate some people were.
It's a sad reality, but thankfully the price of Viagra has come down a lot since then, especially with the introduction of generic versions. And the stigma has lessened too.
That's good to hear. It seems like things are moving in a positive direction. Speaking of access, I read that Pfizer actually tried to get Viagra approved for over-the-counter sales in Europe. What happened there?
They submitted an application to the European Medicines Agency back in 2007, but ultimately withdrew it. They argued that Viagra still needed a doctor's supervision to ensure safe and appropriate use.
So no popping into the pharmacy for a quick Viagra fix in Europe. But hold on, I'm pretty sure I read that you can get it over the counter in the UK. Is that right?
You're absolutely right.
Yep.
It's been available without a prescription in the UK since 2018.
Wow, that's a pretty big difference. Why do you think there's such a discrepancy between the US and the UK when it comes to access to Viagra?
It probably comes down to different cultural attitudes and regulations surrounding medication.
Interesting. Maybe we'll see over-the-counter Viagra in the US someday. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I have to ask about something that really surprised me, Ravashio. It's the same sildenafil, but it's used to treat a serious lung condition, right?
You're right. It's remarkable how sildenafil went from being a failed heart medication to a treatment for pulmonary arterial hypertension, a rare and life-threatening lung condition.
That's incredible. So the same drug that helps with erectile dysfunction is also saving lives. How did that even happen?
Well, researchers discovered that sildenafil can relax blood vessels in the lungs just like it does in the penis. This makes it effective for treating pulmonary arterial hypertension, which is characterized by high blood pressure in the arteries of the lungs.
And to think it all started with a failed heart medication, it just goes to show that sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come from the most unexpected.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what other hidden possibilities are out there just waiting to be discovered.
That's what's so exciting about science, full of surprises.
Well, on that note, let's take a quick pause to gather our thought. When we come back, we'll delve into the legacy of Viagra and what its journey tells us about the future of medicine. Stay tuned. Welcome back. It's pretty amazing to think about how one little pill has had such a massive impact. We've covered everything from ancient remedies to the science behind how Viagra works, but we've only scratched the surface of its cultural and medical impact.
Yeah, it really is a testament to the power of scientific curiosity
Right.
and the fact that sometimes the greatest discoveries happen when we least expect them.
Mm-hmm.
Who would have thought that a failed heart medication would end up revolutionizing the treatment of erectile dysfunction and even pave the way for treatments for other conditions?
Yeah, it's a great reminder that we should always be open to unexpected possibilities. But let's talk about the impact Viagra has had on society. It's not just about the science, it's about how it changed the conversation surrounding a topic that was once taboo.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Viagra helped to break down the stigma surrounding erectile dysfunction
Right.
by encouraging open dialogue and normalizing the conversation.
Yeah.
It empowered men to seek help and improve their lives.
It's almost like Viagra gave people permission to talk about something that had been shrouded in shame and secrecy for...
Exactly. And think about the ripple effects.
Yeah.
By fostering open conversations about sexual health,
Uh,
Viagra indirectly contributed to advancements in research and the development of new treatments.
It's incredible how one drug can have such a profound cultural impact. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the future. What does Viagra's story tell us about the future of medicine?
I think it points toward a future where treatments are increasingly personalized and precise. As we continue to unravel the complexities of the human body and how drugs interact with our systems,
Right.
we'll be able to develop therapies that are tailored to individual needs.
That sounds like something straight out of a science fiction movie. Imagine a world where treatments are not only effective, but also have minimal side effects because they're designed specifically for you.
It's an exciting prospect. And who knows what other unexpected applications we'll discover for existing drugs.
Right.
Maybe a common cold medicine will hold the key to treating Alzheimer's.
Wow.
Or an anti-anxiety medication will revolutionize cancer treatment.
It's mind-boggling to consider all the possibilities. But for now, let's bring it back to Viagra. If you had to sum up its legacy, what would you...
I'd say Viagra's legacy is multifaceted. It's a testament to the power of scientific ingenuity,
Hmm.
the importance of embracing unexpected discovery,
Right.
and the transformative impact that open conversations can have on societal perceptions and ultimately people's well-being.
Well said. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought. If a single molecule like sildenafil can have such a wide-ranging impact, what other hidden possibilities are waiting to be unlocked in the world of science and medicine?
It's a question that should inspire us all to stay curious, keep exploring, and never underestimate the power of serendipity.
And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the extraordinary world of Viagra. We hope you've enjoyed the journey as much as we have. What stood out to you in this deep dive? What questions are still swirling in your mind? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those minds open to the unexpected. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been exploring the world of Viagra, and it's been quite a journey. We've uncovered some fascinating facts about its history, its accidental discovery, and its impact on both science and culture. What really struck me is how Viagra's story highlights the power of persistence in scientific.
Absolutely. The researchers who developed sildenafil didn't give up even when their initial trials for angina and high blood pressure failed.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that sometimes what seems like a setback can lead to an even greater discovery.
Yeah, and in this case, that discovery ended up changing millions of lives. It's incredible to think that one molecule can have such a profound impact on human health and well-being. But as we wrap up our deep dive, I want to come back to something we touched on earlier, the unexpected application of sildenafil. We talked about how it's used to treat pulmonary arterial hypertension and even its potential for treating jet lag. It makes you wonder what other hidden possibilities are out there. What other breakthroughs are waiting to be uncovered?
You know, if a molecule like sildenafil, initially intended for the heart, can have such a wide range of application, imagine the possibilities that might be hidden within other existing drugs. Perhaps a common cold medicine holds the key to a breakthrough in Alzheimer's treatment, or an anti-anxiety medication could revolutionize cancer therapy.
Those are some pretty incredible thoughts to ponder. The world of medicine is full of mysteries, and it seems like we're only just beginning to scratch the surface of what's possible. And I think that's what makes deep dive so fascinating. It's not just about Viagra, it's about the power of scientific curiosity and the potential for unexpected discoveries that can change the world we know it.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that we should never underestimate the power of serendipity and the importance of keeping an open mind when it comes to scientific exploration.
Well said. So as we conclude this deep dive into the world of Viagra, we hope you've gained some new insights and perhaps a renewed sense of wonder about the possibilities that lie ahead in the world of science and medicine.
What stood out to you in this deep dive? What new questions have emerged for you? We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Until next time, keep questioning and keep an open mind. Who knows what amazing